Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a fascinating and, let's be honest, maybe a little controversial proposal for Bolivia's future, and we're going to break it all down for you slide by slide.
You know how most political debates feel? It's like a constant tug of war, right? You've got these two extreme sides just pulling and pulling in opposite directions. Well, this question you see here, it really gets to the heart of a totally different idea. What if there's a third way? We're going to dig into a pragmatic proposal for Bolivia based on a paper from economist Carlos A. Ibañez Meier. His whole idea is to find a solution that steps completely outside those usual rigid battle lines.
Okay, so before we can really get into this alternative path, we've got to understand the problem. And according to the author, the problem is this ideological box that Bolivia seems to be stuck in. It's seen as the root cause of the political paralysis.
So what is a political ideology, really? Well, think of it like a blueprint for society. It's this whole set of ideas that tells you how everything should be run. The government, the economy, you name it. And look, having a blueprint can be great. It gives you a clear guide. But the downside, it can also make you really rigid, kind of unable to adapt when new, unexpected problems pop up.
And this is where you get those two powerful, clashing forces. You've got the far left over here, pushing for total equality with the Stoke controlling the entire economy. And then, on the other side, you've got the far right, focusing on strong nationalism and a free market, though, often with a protectionist twist. The problem is, when these two extremes are the loudest voices in the room, what do you get? Usually just deep divisions and a government that can't get anything done. Gridlock.
So, the big question is there a way out? Can you break free from that kind of ideological deadlock? Well, the whole argument in this proposal is a big yes. And the way to do it is by shifting our focus away from rigid beliefs and onto what actually gets results.
And that right there brings us to the heart of it all, political pragmatism. It's a total mindset shift. See, instead of asking, hey, does this new policy fit my ideology? A pragmatist just asks one simple question: does it work? It's all about evidence, it's about results, and maybe most importantly, it's about having the flexibility to change course when something just isn't delivering.
Okay, so does this just works approach actually work? I mean, on a national scale? Well, the paper points to a really famous example as proof of concept: the Nordic model. We're talking about countries that have become masters at blending ideas from both the left and the right to build some of the most stable and prosperous societies on the planet.
All right, so let's get into the nitty-gritty. What exactly is this Nordic blueprint? Let's break down the key ingredients that countries like Sweden, Denmark, and Norway put together to create all that success.
Okay, here's the magic sauce. It's this really unique mix. On one hand, you have a full-on, competitive capitalist economy that's great at creating wealth. But, and this is the key, that wealth is then used to pay for a massive, universal welfare state. We're talking healthcare, education, all of it, for everybody. And how do they pay for it? Through a progressive tax system that only works because people trust their government, which is backed up by super strong, transparent institutions.
Now, this is where things get really interesting. If you take Bolivia's biggest, most stubborn problems, and you put them side by side with the solutions from the Nordic model, it's almost a perfect fit. Like Bolivia has weak institutions, the model is built on strong ones. Poverty and inequality are huge issues. The model's answer is universal social protection. The country is too dependent on its natural resources. The model's whole thing is pushing for a diverse economy.
And that brings us to the core proposal in the paper. The idea here isn't to just copy and paste what the Nordic countries did. No way. It's about taking that blueprint and adapting it into a very specific 5-pillar plan designed for the unique situation in Bolivia.
So here's how that custom-fit plan breaks down. First, and this is crucial, you have to build trust. That means tackling corruption head-on. Pillar 2 is about getting smart with the country's money, especially the revenue from all that gas and lithium. Then you've got to bring the huge informal economy into the light, making it easier for small businesses to be legit. Pillar 4 is a massive investment in people, better education, better healthcare. And finally, number 5 is about getting more value out of the country's own resources, but doing it in a smart, green, sustainable way.
Okay, so a plan with 5 huge pillars, that's obviously really ambitious, right? So how would you even begin to pull it off? The author is very clear on this. This is not a quick fix. We're talking about a serious, long-term project that has to happen in stages.
The proposed roadmap is laid out pretty clearly. In the short term, say the first 1 to 3 years, it's all about building a foundation. Stabilize the finances, build some credibility, get people on board. Then you move into the medium term. That's where you start really expanding social services and diversifying the economy. And the long-term game? We're talking maybe 20 years out. That's when you finally solidify that full-scale welfare state and the strong civic culture you need to make it all last.
So in the end, nobody's pretending this would be easy. The paper frames it as a really complex challenge, but a necessary one. It's all about making that tough choice to move past the old ideological fights to actually build something new. Strong institutions, a society that works together, and an economy that creates a more just and prosperous future for everyone.
Which really leaves us with this one big question to chew on. In a world that feels more and more divided, more polarized than ever, can a country truly overcome its deepest political fights by just agreeing on what works? Is that shared, pragmatic vision powerful enough to actually build a different kind of future? Something to think about. Thanks for joining us for this explainer.